to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall Psychic all the way from the Gold Coast. I hope you've had an absolutely fantastic week wherever you are in this amazing planet of ours. It's always interesting, isn't it, as we start to see the change of the seasons and, you know, people in the Northern Hemisphere are heading towards their summer and sort of outdoors and barbecues and spending time out with family and friends in the sunshine and just really enjoying and loving life. Here in Australia, we're all hunkering down because it's heading into the colder months of the year. And for many of us like me that don't particularly like the cold, I find this is a time when I really want to sort of hibernate and not do anything much because it's too cold. But anyway, enough of my grizzling about the weather. The Simply Tarot card of the week this week is the Devil card. Now, the Devil card's one of those ambiguous cards that my students always used to shudder when this card came out in a reading, and I used to say to them, now, hang on a minute, don't be so upset by seeing the Devil card. Yes, it can be jealousy or trouble, but most of the time we don't have a lot of jealousy or trouble in our lives. It's usually more the secondary meaning, being able to break the chains that are binding you or holding you back. Now, many times in our lives, we're our own worst enemy. We say, I can't do this, I can't do that, I haven't got the capabilities. Instead of saying, I haven't found a solution yet, or maybe I'm lacking a little bit of confidence in my decision making or my ability to achieve a goal. So then we are able to break the chains that are binding us or holding us back. And we're all guilty of that. I'm no different to anybody else. We can all sit there and say, oh, well, I'll do that tomorrow, or I haven't got enough information, or I haven't got enough money, or whatever the case may be. So again, it's a card of, in a sense, of procrastination, of we are able to break those chains that are binding us or holding us back, and we will be able to move forward once we do that. So it's a card of positivity in a sense, but yes, occasionally it does mean jealousy or trouble. We don't escape life where we don't have issues or situations that we need to sort out from time to time. But more times than enough, it's the restrictions or the limitations that we're placing on ourselves. So I want you to think about that next time the Devil card comes out in a reading for you. What are you avoiding? What are you holding yourself back on? What are you preventing from coming into your life because of a little bit of fear? So maybe this week's mantra should be, we're going to overcome our fears and try something new, throw caution to the wind, do something different this week. So that's the Devil card. Okay, so we're going to be working now with the astrology section of the week, and I get lots of messages each week in my inbox about how helpful these segments become, that people sort of really even if they don't catch the show live, they go back and watch it on one of the many, many areas of devices that you can catch up with us on, Spotify and all those different things, you know, Alexia, all those things, too many to mention here. So this week the sun is still in Gemini. He's about halfway through his little trek through Gemini for the year. I always find it quite exciting when the sun moves into Gemini because I feel it gives us all, each and every one of the 12 star signs, a little bit of a fresh approach. It gives us something to sort of get excited about. The ideas start to flow a little bit more. Some people find that they have trouble sleeping during the Gemini cycle because their mind is so active that they're sort of flitting from one situation to another in their mind, and they're not able to still their mind to go to sleep of a night. I don't have that problem, fortunately, but for many people they do. So it's sort of one of those things that, you know, you need to find the ways to calm your mind down. You know, a lot of people talk about don't watch television or play on your device half an hour before going to bed, get yourself into a routine. Maybe they're all good things to do, but you've got to find what works for you. But I find it's a time of brilliant ideas. We're literally halfway through the year. We're starting to see some of the situations or some of our aspirations or our goals that we set at the beginning of the year with our New Year's resolutions are either taking shape, we've had to modify them, or we've thrown them out the window and replaced them with a new set of ideas and aspirations for the remaining part of the year. So whichever one suits you, it's okay. It's a personal thing. You don't always have to achieve everything you set out in your New Year's resolutions. If we all did that, wouldn't life be boring because everything would be so predictable. We need to be flexible. We need to be able to work with change. And that's what the Gemini energy is asking us to do, is to be flexible, listen to new ideas, don't rule anything out, give it some airtime. If it's no good, then chuck it out. If it's good, put it in the pile of I'll deal with it later. And it might be something that's really exciting that we want to move forward with now. So the next part of the astrology section is we've got a real focus on Taurus at the moment. Now, I don't just want to say this is for Tauruses, Virgos, Capricorns and Scorpios. I want this to relate to each and every star sign this week because I think it applies to all of us. It doesn't matter what your star sign is. At the moment, we've got real tremendous opportunities with communication. We've got Mercury, the planet of communication, is holding hands or conjunct Uranus, the planet of the unusual and the unexpected. Now, the reasons why I'm saying this applies to each and every one of us is that we can have some real light bulb moments. Feeding off that Gemini sun, we've got communication coming in thick and strong. We've got ideas coming out of nowhere. We've got opportunities there to speak up, talk about things that maybe that we haven't had an opportunity to do before. This is the perfect time if you want to try and sort out a family squabble, if you want to sort of ask for a raise, if you've sort of something that you need to get off your chest, something you need to explore or research, anything that's connected with communication, now is the perfect time. We could see some major opportunities or some major breakthroughs coming through here, and I don't want to see everybody waste this. You know, not everybody's going to have something major or new on the horizon. Other people might just have something simple like, I've been meaning to make that phone call, now's the day I'm going to do it. And by doing it, you're going to be pleasantly surprised. You've been on the other person's mind. They've been trying to make enough time to get around to call you. And it's just, you know, it ends up being a really uplifting conversation. It's a time when we can really, really clear the air. And that's the important thing. The other part of the Taurian energy this week that I want to focus on that also applies to all of us is that we all have the opportunity now to find the way forward in our lives because we've got the moon's node, which is not a planet, which is showing us where we should be aspiring to, what we should be aspiring to achieve, is conjunct or holding hands Jupiter, the planet of expansion, opportunity, luck, bringing in much better opportunities for us. So we all have the opportunity to maybe sort of sit down and give it a little bit of thought and look at what it is that we're hoping to achieve. What are we trying to achieve? What have we been working hard on? The only downside to this is Jupiter in Taurus can also sort of expand our waistline. So this is not the time that if you're going out for a bite to eat to have that second dessert or have that extra slice of pizza. It is a time of sort of saying, now hang on a minute, I have had enough. Having another piece is just because I want to, not because my body needs it or I need the fuel. It just would be nice to have. So be aware of that because it can spark things in people that might not necessarily have what we call an addiction, but have a fancy to something and, you know, more inclined to put a lolly or a candy in your mouth more often than what you would, or have that extra soda or something like that. Just be aware. Don't, you know, put too much sugar or too much fatty foods into your body over the next couple of weeks because it will be tempting. It's almost like that you're oblivious to what you're doing. Oh, well, I didn't realise I had that much. Well, just be a little bit more aware of what is actually happening around you. But that's just the one little warning. But on the upside of the Taurus energy here is with Jupiter and the North Node is that we have the opportunity now to make hay while the sun shines. By that I mean we have an opportunity to bring in some really, really good opportunities. People are listening, you know, with the planetary configurations with Mercury conjunct Uranus in Taurus, and then you've got the North Node at the other end of the Taurian energy conjunct Jupiter. You've got time where people are really starting to focus, people are starting to listen. This is a great time if you want to do a pitch or do a presentation because people really are going to be receptive to it. And, you know, they may even come up with some constructive ideas or suggestions that could even make the opportunity that you're presenting or the pitch that you're going for even better than what you thought. We have Venus, the planet of love and affection, is conjunct Mars in Leo. For those people that are seeking or looking for love, this is a perfect week for stepping out there, strutting your stuff, sort of putting your best foot forward. You know, when any time a planet's in Leo, I think of, you know, we all need to be on the stage and perform. Now, this is not just applying to Leos. This is every single star sign. If you're seeking love, then you've got to get out. You've got to strut your stuff. You've got to go somewhere different. Go to things that are connected with entertainment, things that make people smile, things that make you happy. It's not the time to do something that's a solo situation. It's the time to go out to that concert, go to the nightclub, go somewhere where there's lots of people, you know, the jazz festival in the park, you know, get out and about, meet people sort of, you know, but make sure that you put your best foot forward. Make sure that you really are presenting the best possible you. And when you do meet people, be friendly, be open, have a conversation, say it's a nice day, I hope you're having a great time, whatever the case may be. Sometimes it just takes that little bit of extra effort from our part to start up a conversation with somebody, and that's what then starts the opportunity that we could get to know somebody and potentially they could be our new love interest. We still have Saturn, the planet of discipline and restriction, still sitting in Pisces. So for all our darling little Pisceans, Cancers and Scorpios, it's a time of a little bit of restriction here. It's also a little bit of time of restriction for Virgos as well. You might be feeling as if you're sitting on your hands, you've got so many projects you want to get off the ground, but for some reason nothing sort of is starting to move. Maybe you just need to learn patience. Maybe that's what the lesson is here, is that you need to learn patience. Go back over your facts and figures. Make sure you've got all your ducks in a row. Make sure that everything that you need to do to be prepared for what you're hoping to bring into your life, whether it's a new job or whatever the situation may be, is as prepared as it can possibly be. Sometimes we sit there and say we want this and we want that, but we haven't really done the homework or the work that's required to get this across the line. So this is the time to go back and double check that. Particularly if you're one of those 4 star signs that I mentioned, money might seem a little bit tight at the moment, might seem as if there's not enough to go around. This is a good time to look at your budget, look at things and ask yourself, what are the things that I can cut out of my life that really are obsolete or I don't need? What am I wasting money on? And, it's a good time to clean out the closet and things like that too. Sometimes by just reorganising our personal space, that also flows into other areas of our lives, because we show the universe that we really are keen, we really are ready for change, and we are ready to organise things and bring things up to speed. We also have Neptune, the planet of illusion and delusion, but I like to look at Neptune as being more the creative side of things. Neptune is still going through the final stages of being in Pisces. It's really sort of ramping up some creative juices there. So if you are a Pisces, Scorpio or a Cancer or a Virgo, this is the time to get your creative hat out of the closet. Start to work with it. There may be some creative solutions which may have nothing to do with finances. It may just be that you want to be around people that make your heart sing, and that's fine too. It's a time when you might find that you're losing yourself in a soppy movie, that you're normally that way, but it's making your heart sing, and it's just taking you away from your day-to-day grind and sort of allowing you to sort of lose yourself in a little bit of fantasy, and there's nothing wrong with that. Finally, Pluto is still sitting in Aquarius, still dipping his toe in Aquarius. It's interesting. It's going to be very, very interesting as we see Pluto move in there next year permanently for a very, very long time, that how Pluto is going to work in Aquarius, because I truly do believe Pluto is going to bring some transformation, but it's also going to bring different solutions. We're going to find solutions are going to come out of nowhere. We're going to find different ways of problem solving. We're going to have some really great breakthroughs. And it could very well be because we need solutions in the globe now to fix some of the problems like global warming and things like that, and sort of try and bring economies back under control and get inflation under control and things like that. Maybe there's going to be some think tanks that we've never seen the likes of before, that where we're going to get global solutions that, once they are discovered and talked about and put into practice, we're going to say, why didn't we do that before? That's always been sitting there. We've just never utilised those skills or that technology or this information in this way. So it's going to be, I think, a very exciting era to live through. So it's interesting, as astrology always unfolds, it helps us, it guides us into our lives to where we can make sort of more informed choices. And I have a lot of times people message me and say, look, I don't quite understand what astrology can do for me. I've read it in the newspaper, I've done this, I've done that. And, it doesn't always mean that to me. Well, what you've got to understand, when somebody's writing a prediction or column, for a newspaper or a magazine or a blog, they're trying to divide the planet into 12. And you can't just necessarily divide the whole of the planet into 12 segments. Yes, some of it will apply to some people, some of it will apply to nobody under that sign. So it's a bit of a hit and miss. If you find an astrologer that writes a daily column that resonates with you, that you get some good accuracy on, then that's the one to follow. Why do we work with astrology? Well, astrology is a little bit like taking a Polaroid photograph, and I know I'm showing my age now, but if you were to take a snapshot of the universe and where the planets are at your birth, that is what an astrology chart is, that we take that snapshot of precisely the moment that you were born. And 4 minutes in astrology can make a huge difference to a person's character and personality, because it means that the planets are still going to be in the same positions, but 4 minutes can make a difference in where the houses fall in an actual chart. So that's why if you're going to have a chart done and there's any way possible that you can get a precise birth time, it is really, really important to have a precise birth time, and then an astrologer can give you a more accurate astrology chart by doing that. And astrology is the blueprint of your life. It sort of shows your personality throughout the different stages of your life. We don't switch it all on at birth and switch it all off when we die. We work through astrology. We work through our chart. It's like a living, breathing entity throughout the areas of our life. We're going to talk with Jessica in Jacksonville in Florida. Are you there, Jessica?
Hey, yes.
Do you have a question I can answer for you, please, Jessica?
I really just want to know, how, I really don't know. I'm kind of new to this, and I just want to, have an experience.
Yeah, sure. It's just easier for me if I have a question I can answer for you, Jessica, rather than you just say, oh, well, I just want a general idea. Most people usually phone into the show because they've got something that's bothering them. It might be a relationship question, or am I going to change my job, or am I going to move, or, things along those lines. Is there something that I can help you with tonight?
Okay, yes. I want to know about my love life and how it's going to go in the future, because right now it's, very complicated, and I'm, feeling depressed, and it's not, the normal stuff. It's been really toxic, and I just want to know, what's going on and how to make it better.
Right. Okay, we can look at that for you, Jessica. Yeah, it's really, really interesting, because as you were sort of explaining to me what's going on in your life with your relationship, I was being shown the energy for it's got to change. It's got to change. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's got to end, but it can't stay the way that it is. It's interesting because I feel during the time of this relationship, Jessica, you've learnt so much about yourself. You've learnt about, your strengths, your weaknesses, and a lot of other stuff in between. But you've also sort of learnt that you have incredible patience that I don't think you gave yourself credit for before this relationship. I don't know that I'm going to say that this relationship is right, and would I be sort of suggesting that this is the one that's going to make you happily ever after? I don't think so. But I do feel in the next 2 to 3 months there's going to be significant changes in the relationship, in as much as you'll sort of see it through different eyes. And it's whether that means that you're going to look at it and say, hang on a minute, this is not for me. I can't keep going on in this toxic situation where I'm not being recognised, I'm not being heard, none of my needs are being met, and I keep trying to jump through hoops to make you happy. I keep trying to change and be what you keep telling me you want me to be, and once I do that, you then have a different set of rules. So it's interesting because I feel, Jessica, that there's going to be the ending of this current situation before the end of the year, and I feel next year there's going to be a new love coming into your life. Somebody that's going to be completely different from this situation. But I want to go back to the current situation and say, no matter which way this unfolds, no matter what happens from here on in, I want you to know that you've learnt so much about yourself. This has been a great learning curve. But at the same time, you've also slowly putting together the things that you don't want in a relationship, the things that are unacceptable to you. And you'll be able to sort of move on from this and sort of say to yourself, well, I did the very, very best that I could do. I tried everything humanly possible and many times over to make this situation work. I didn't just give up at the first hurdle or the 10th hurdle. I really, really, really did a lot to try and understand who I was, where I was coming from, how I was presenting things, how I was asking for my needs to be met. And, you know, you looked at certain things and you sort of, it wasn't just constantly about saying that your partner's doing the wrong thing. You know, you took on board what you needed to change as well. So you're going to walk away from this situation much, much stronger than what you were. And it's interesting because I feel the other person has learnt too, but I think both of you were so frightened to be on your own that neither one wants to be the first to say goodbye. But I think the relationship will wind down in its own sort of fashion. But from about March next year, Jessica, I can see new love coming into your life, somebody that will really treasure you, somebody that will treat you with the respect that you deserve. And you will have a completely different outlook on life to what you've got now. And you'll look back at this time in this toxic relationship and say to yourself, well, I'm glad I went through it. I don't want to do it again, but I learnt so much. So that's where we're going to leave Jessica now in Jacksonville in Florida. We're going to talk with Evie in Visalia, California. Are you there, Evie?
I sure am. Thank you.
Do you have a question I can answer for you, Evie?
Yes, I'm trying to conceive. I'm 4 years old, and hoping if you're able to tell me if that's going to happen this year. And if you're not able to answer that question, anything.
All right, Evie, look, conception, birth and children and things like that are one of those sort of tricky areas that are governed by laws of countries that we're not allowed to talk about. It goes along the lines of medical and legal. But what I can tell you is that from an energetic standpoint, I do see you being blissfully happy. So, you know, there's no greater smile that comes on a woman's face than when she first holds a baby in her arms and realises she's a mum. So I'm taking it from the energetic standpoint that you will. It's interesting because I think there's been 2 or 3 false starts here, as if, you know, there's been a couple of times that you thought you were pregnant and it didn't pan out, and it's just sort of like it seems a cruel twist of fate, but it was almost like it was preparing you for the big event. Has there just been a change in your residence? Have you moved house, or have you just moved the furniture around?
I've upgraded. I've made changes in the house. I'm modernizing it. It looks better now.
Good. Okay. Because they were showing me that was part of the journey of this. It's sort of like, if you've done that, that's good. It's like I'm preparing everything. I'm getting ready for the big changes that are coming. I know that once you've had the opportunity to be a mum the first time, I think the second and maybe the third time won't be anywhere near as stressful or as difficult. It's just going to happen. So I certainly do see a family around you, Evie. So I want to say to you, just, you know, relax, enjoy what you're doing with the changes you're making to your home, and know that, yes, from an energetic standpoint and from, you know, all the family and friends that you've got on the other side, they're certainly sharing with me that you're going to have a family. So I think we just need to relax and just let it happen naturally. Sometimes I think it's just we can't understand why, but, you know, it just doesn't happen in the time frame that we expected. So, you know, sometimes by busying ourselves and focusing on another project like modernising your home takes the energy and puts it that way that then all of a sudden, before we know it, we've got a bundle of joy on the way. So I hope that's helped you, Evie. Is there something else I can help you with today, Evie? Evie?
Yes, thank you so much. Is there anything else I need to know regarding my health?
As far as your health, I think it's about learning moderation. I think you're one of these people that you keep going until you drop. You've got to learn to listen to your body's signs. If your body's telling you it's tired, it doesn't mean you're being lazy by sitting down for 5 minutes and having a cup of coffee or a glass of water or just listening to a song, and just let your body recharge and then get up and go again. You tend to do things in extremes. It's like full on or full stop. It's like I want to learn share with you that you need to sort of start looking at things in moderation. Listen to what your body's telling you. Listen to what it's telling you that it needs to eat. You know, if all of a sudden you're craving tomatoes, there's a reason for that. The body is lacking something and it needs that. Your body will tell you when you've had enough. It doesn't mean, you know, you only eat tomatoes if that's what you're craving, but if that's what you're craving, bring a little bit more of that into your diet until all of a sudden the body is satisfied. You're a very high energy person, but at the same time, I don't think you allow yourself to stand still. You don't allow yourself to rest. And that's not necessarily good when we go at full steam ahead until we stop, until, you know, the only time you stop is when you fall asleep of a night or you get sick. You don't allow yourself that time to say, I can have a little bit of downtime. By doing that, I think that's important too. It's really hard for me to suggest to somebody, look, you know, go and learn to meditate or something. If that's not you naturally, then you're going to find that difficult. But what I can suggest you, if there's a particular song that you particularly like or a couple of songs that you like, put that on. Even if it's on your cell phone, put it on, sit down and make yourself sit down and sing along to the words and then get up. That can be your form of meditation. That's your form of relaxation. All you should do is focusing on the words to the song and bopping away to it, and that's your form of meditation. You don't necessarily have to sit there in a cross-legged position and go, and, you know, say that, you know, I'm going to do meditation for 15 or 20 minutes. That's a way of doing it, that all you're doing is allowing your mind, your body and your soul to sort of shut down and just focus on one thing. And that can be very beneficial for you because you just don't, your energy is just always on go mode. It's never really sort of allowing it time to recharge your own batteries. But I do think the next 12 months are going to be quite exciting, going to be quite interesting for you. And I feel that you're going to find that there's lots of changes coming. So just listen to what your body's telling you it needs, and everything will be fine, Evie. Everything's going to work out the way that you want it to. So that's where we're going to leave, Evie. It's always difficult when you're trying to conceive a baby and things aren't happening and everybody else around you can have a baby and you seem to be the odd one out. Sometimes it's maybe just not the right time for you, and sometimes it's just not meant to be. We never know these things until we're blessed with children. Some people are meant to be parents and some aren't. And there's no right or wrong way of looking at things in life. It's just, I believe our lives are mapped out for us before we take our first breath. And that's where astrology is such a great tool, because it gives us the guidelines to be able to understand our personality and what's meant for us. And, you know, some people just aren't meant to be parents, even though they may want to. There's other ways of fulfilling that role by maybe fostering children or becoming involved in the community. So this week I want to leave you with one of my favourite songs, and it's a song that I think goes across the ages, and it's one that a lot of people sing along to, even though they may not know all the words, but it always is uplifting and makes you feel as if you're not alone. And it's Dionne Warwick singing That's What Friends Are For. And I think the world is a much, much better place because we all have some amazing friends. And I think if we all can sort of reach out and just touch somebody else in some small way, whether it's a smile, a phone call, reaching out, sending them a message, just saying hello to somebody, sometimes can be the only communication that they've had all day. Just a simple smile, a simple hello makes the world a better place. And that's what friends are for. Until next week.